When I came back from videotaping the footage for the Mikey video, I came to the realization that I have to make a video that would somehow do justice to Mikey's life. And I found this to be a very difficult task. So with the help of Rabbi Sally Friedman, my boss, and Danny and Nita Butler, Mikey's parents, we came to an answer that if the video were to be an inspirational video, a happy video, then maybe just as Mikey inspired so many thousands of people, hopefully the video will continue to inspire. Mikey was somebody who hated mediocrity. His message was you should always strive to be the very best you could be, even when it's a little difficult, as well as craving normalcy. We should enjoy the fact that we're not stuck in an ICU. Look how it's a beautiful day outside. These two ideas were part of Mikey's being. And I think that if we embrace them and learn from them, then maybe we can somehow live up to his standard day by glorious day.
We should not speak overly much on Mikey's suffering. He always said he did not like whiners.
So I remember the first time I met Mikey was a Friday night dinner that I spent at the Butlers, and I couldn't believe that this kid had just been in the hospital, and that he had just had this huge surgery, because he was too normal.
I remember in 9th grade at the Columbus Shabbaton, Mikey Butler was my advisor at the house I was staying at, and I remember waking up on Shabbos morning, walking ashore with him, and having any normal conversation, just like with any other advisor. And the next Shabbaton, his face was all poofy because of the medications, and I thought he was just any other normal advisor.
I'm in Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh, and as you see, some people may call me sick, some people call me weak, and some people just call me somebody who needed to get a vacation. I call me all three.
I remember when I was a little kid, my sister used to drag me to the hospital to visit Mikey, and I hated it. Because going to the hospital is just awful. Like, you see all these people who are dying, and it's just depressing as hell. It's depressing. And I would never go, and I always used to hide in the back. But then after a few times going with her, I realized visiting Mikey was different than visiting everyone else, because it was fun. No matter who you went with, no matter how long he'd been there for, sometimes he got there that day, sometimes for the month, if he's been there for months. He always made you feel invited.
Mikey was such a close friend to so many different people, and his passing has left everyone feeling so down and so sad. But when people get together and they talk about Mikey in small groups or even in formal settings, somehow you can't help but walking away feeling uplifted and inspired. He had such a positive message about everything.
And I think you can sum up Mikey. He lived every day by glorious day. He took every day and used it to its fullest by influencing people and by just living and by beating the odds. And I think that, like I said before, I felt bad for him. But now I can honestly say that I'm almost jealous that Mikey, in such a short time, accomplished so much.
We have a Jewish tradition that there are 36 hidden tzaddikim. And I always thought there were people with long beards and long black coats. And the reason they're hidden is they're somewhere in Mea Shearim or in Tzfat, in some corner of the world that we can't find them. And now that's not what I believe. I believe that the reason they're hidden is because on the surface they look like you or I. They're camouflaged. And I think Mikey Butler was one of the 36 tzaddikim. And I think he was one of the hidden tzaddikim. And for those of us who knew him, not so hidden.
Mikey, what you doing? What are you doing, Mike?
I'm riding my bike as a two-wheeler with no training wheels.
It's unbelievable, Mike.
When I was in NCSY in the late 70s, I remember when Mikey was born. And in fact, I remember coming back before I got married and meeting Mikey. He was this cute little blonde being held by Gary Torgo. And he said to everybody, "Hello, my name is Mikey." He had this beautiful high-pitched voice. But we were all very sad to learn that Mikey was only going to live between 2 and 4 years. I got married, I moved to Israel. Eventually I came back to the United States and I started to work for NCSY. My first Shabbaton at Heights Jewish Center, I walk into the kitchen and there's these two guys. It was like the oddest deja vu. One looks exactly like Michael Hochheiser and the other one looks exactly like Danny Butler. So to one, I met him, Yuri Hochheiser. I introduced myself and I held him as a baby. I told him that he was a cute baby. And the other one, I said, "Are you Mikey Butler? I can't believe you're still alive."
A few weeks before he passed away, Mia and Gary, Mikey's brother, got engaged. And Mikey was so excited that he wanted to handle booking our band. He was so sick in those last few weeks and he didn't even think about his sickness. He thought about getting us a band for our wedding and thought about helping us and getting what was best for us.
I remember last year at Regional Shabbaton, my favorite Shabbaton ever, that Judge Butler talked to us during Shalosh Shodis and told us about Mikey's life and how he dealt with it and how he lived. And I remember how he mentioned that Mikey really wanted to come for the Regional Shabbaton, but he couldn't because he underwent a really hard chemotherapy a few days before and he was way too weak and he couldn't make it. And he also just mentioned in undertone that he wouldn't be surprised if Mikey came the next day for the banquet dinner. Didn't expect it to happen at all. And it just so happened, next day, banquet dinner, we're all getting ready for dinner, sitting down, Mikey walks in.
In Cleveland last year, I heard that Mikey might make a guest appearance Sunday night by the banquet. And I was so excited. And you know, Friday we were playing music and it was going good. And Saturday night, Shabbos, we were playing and it was awesome. But I was waiting for Mikey to come in and you know, and show everyone, you know, what it's like. And then, you know, Sunday night, you know, we're playing the music by the banquet. And I'm sitting, you know, by the end of the room, and everyone gets up, starts clapping their hands. And I'm, you know, earlier that night I heard that Mikey wasn't gonna make it. He was in the hospital, whatever this is. So I thought maybe a Rebbe came in or a past NCSY or whatever. And so I see Mikey walking down, and I was just stood up. I was like, oh, the Shabbaton has just started. And I was just so happy. And I walked over to him, and he he didn't look like he could drum exactly, so I didn't ask him, you know, to drum. But then, you know, Judge Butler came up to me before, you know, during benching or something like that. He says to me, listen, Mikey wants to drum. I looked at him on it. I said, you know, are you sure? Can he? Is it gonna go? Is it gonna happen? He said, don't worry, he can drum. And I couldn't get it. I heard before that he couldn't hear, he couldn't see, you know. I didn't understand how a person can get up there and drum. And so I called him up to the stage. And everyone went wild. And, you know, we started singing Ratza and, you know, Uri's on the side, he's going nuts, and Mikey's doing his thing. I'm just standing there, I'm looking at Judge Butler, I'm saying, like, is this for real? Like, is this happening? Is this really happening? And Salah's on the side looking at this, is this really happening? And I was scared, I was scared to take it to the next level of, you know, the fast music. But, you know, Mikey looked over, he gave me the wink, he said, you know, I'm in. We started playing and we started, you know, the Fikach here, and oh man! Mikey went nuts, he started drumming, doing all these rolls, doing all these unbelievable drumming skills that, you know, most drummers can do. And at one point, I remember this, I'll never forget this, I gave him a solo in the middle to start playing. And I didn't know what to do with myself. I was so excited beyond like the adrenaline was rushing so much. There was a chair on stage that like I couldn't stop like jumping up and down. I jumped up on the chair and I started jumping on the chair, and like, you know, I'm just like jamming and everything. And unfortunately, I had to leave. You know, at like midnight, 1 o'clock, I had to leave because I had an early flight. But I heard that Mikey took over the drums and stayed till like 4 in the morning playing. And oh, I was just so happy, you know, to hear that he could do that and he could make everyone so happy, because he wasn't doing it for himself. You know, everyone, you know, he loves drumming, I love playing music, whatever. But when I play music because I love playing music. He plays music because he loves making people happy.
Thank Hashem for that beautiful sight of seeing Mikey Butler on the drums.
Anybody who got close and got to really know Mikey was a greater-than-life hero. But he's really not the only hero. His parents are superheroes in so many different ways. And there's no way that he would have made it to the age of 24 without the optimism and the tenacity and the self-reliance and the happiness under the worst circumstances. And he learned those attitudes from his parents. Another great hero is his doctor, Dr. Joel Weinberg, who's not only a close family friend to the Butlers and somebody who's tops in his field, and someone who is a model Torah-observant Jew. He was selflessly devoted to Mikey's care. I mean, that's an understatement. Everybody in the hospital knew that Mikey was a top priority. And there's no way that Mikey would have gotten to the transplant and survived the transplant and survived so many of the crises over the last 5 or 6 years. It had not been the selfless devotion of Dr. Joel Weinberg.
I had the pleasure of taking care of Mikey Butler for the last 6 years. I saw him almost every day for the last 3 years, prior to his lung transplantation and after his lung transplantation. Mikey always impressed me in the way he was able to tour every ICU, pre-transplantation, post-transplantation, rehab hospitals, and always win over the nurses within 3 or 4 hours and so they would take care of him and be very concerned for him. And why was this? Because Mikey always was able to care and for the people that were taking care of him. No matter how much pain they had to inflict, they sometimes had to put tubes in him, intravenous catheters, he would thank them with a gracious smile. Every time I would walk into the intensive care unit or when he was in the hospital, he would say, "Hi Doc, how you doing?" And he meant it. He wanted to know how I was doing. And once I told him how I was doing, he'd give me a big smile, and then we'd proceed with business for Mikey.
Mikey was special in his way, that he taught us what is the important things in life, what is the real meaning in life. You know, everyone has his problem in life, some people in school, some people in business, some people with money, everyone his own problems. But when you're looking at Mikey's life and looking how Mikey was happy all the time, real happy, happiness from inside, every time that I had chance to talk to him, to see him, every time I saw a smile.
This is why I love him very much like me, guys. He was a hero because he knew how to do it. He learns everything in the Torah. Mikey, I miss you badly. And see the slide remembers you like you do it.
One day, before Mikey's transplantation, he woke up, he had a very high carbon dioxide level, and all of a sudden he wakes up and starts mouthing words. And he asked me again, "How you doing, Doc?" I said, "Okay." And then he starts mouthing words, and couldn't understand it. And he says, and then he's mouthing, waking up, and finally we figured it out. Waking up to see you is much better than the alternative. And about 2 hours later, all of a sudden he had on his computer, "Day by Glorious Day."
I never understood what Day by Glorious Day meant until I saw Mikey with a smile on his face and I see it.
Mikey Butler took the term Day by Glorious Day, made it a reality.
Mikey's life truly was. Mikey lived.
He showed us by his smile.
He smiled.
Teaching me how to look good bald.
A friend.
A walking mirror.
Day by Glorious Day. Day by Glorious Day.
Day by Glorious Day.
Day by Glorious Day. Day by Glorious Day.
Day by Glorious Day.
I asked Mikey Butler when he was younger, if you could have anything in the world, what would you want? He's back in the Make-A-Wish phase. And this kid who said to the president, with the vice president standing by him, and Steven Spielberg and Norman Schwarzkopf, Mikey's two friends, standing behind them, he said, "Mr. President, this is my father, Judge Butler." And this kid said what he wanted more than anything else in the world was one normal day. No pain, no shortness of breath, and none of the 70 or so medications that it seemed he had to take all the time. Today's his first day like that. But it does give it perspective to realize that most of us had a day like that yesterday. Mikey wanted normalcy. Mikey craved normalcy, and that was his message to the world. The food in the cafeteria isn't so bad. This is a great educational opportunity. It's not raining so hard. It's not snowing so hard. It's not that cold. Neupogen doesn't hurt that much. I don't remember Mikey ever in the deepest, darkest spot in his life not having a reason to smile. You'd come into the room and he would be on, even on his last day.
There was one last thing that I mentioned in my speech. My parents had brought candy to throw at me for my bar mitzvah. as is the custom of certain people. And then I found out that we aren't supposed to throw candy at that our custom is not to throw candy at our bar mitzvah, we only do it in Ufra. So I said, let's wait till the Ufra. I can wait. And I hope all of you can be in my Ufra to throw candy at me.
I know.